Hello and welcome to another Maplestory 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about Producer Blog week 3. So they promised doing I guess weekly now with the news and such, and today we're going to be talking a little bit more about Chaos Raids. So Chaos Raids is what they're going to be planning for November 8th, so everyone is getting ready for that. I've seen a lot of comments about, or people shouting in the world chat about, don't buy this, don't buy that, don't upgrade anymore, we're gonna get legendary soon, and so on. And from my own point of view, I would say keep doing whatever you want, because like I said, daily limits of hard dungeons and such, those are by itself, so feel free to upgrade as much as you want. Get the drops that you want. Doesn't really matter, because the raid limit has its own limit on how many entries you can enter, and that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit more later on. Now, Chaos Raids is going to be available. We are going to get 3 dungeons. As we all expected, that Shadow Altar, aka Chaos Wreck, will be available, which is why it's so good that everyone geared up with the Murphagoth weapon, because that's going to be the entry level for the Chaos Raid. However, we are going to get Moonlight Fortress and Ludibrium Clock Tower, and I don't think having the other 2 weapons would benefit you, because they are aimed towards Lubelisk and for Captain Mork. So yeah, the only thing you can do right now is, for my recommendation, would be farming Fire Dragon and Labyrinth Hall for the weapon for Shadow Altar, for now at least. We are gonna have 2 on the launch, I guess, when they release this new patch. We're gonna have 2 raids available, and everyone's gonna start off with Shadow Altar, for example, and later on we're gonna get Ludibrium Clock Tower. That's when we get our legendary weapon. So farming these legendary, I would guess the armor would be better, of course, than what we have. The weapon itself, we're still gonna need to farm. Or if you want to upgrade or to be stronger in general, I would say you're gonna have to continue to farm Labyrinth Hall and Fire Dragon to keep up with the, plus 12, plus 13, 14, 15, etc. Because we're not gonna get any weapon from the raids. As you can see over here, it shows that Shadow Altar is giving you headgear, gloves, and shoes, and then Moonlight Fortress gives you legendary top and bottom, and then 2 weeks after, roughly 2 weeks after, you are gonna get legendary weapon if you can beat these raids. Now, a lot of people are saying don't bother farming now and whatnot, and you're still gonna farm these hard dungeons, because you're gonna need these Chaos Onyx, you're gonna need the Onyx crystals. You can always aim for the perfect rolls and whatnot if you haven't done that yet. I haven't upgraded my armor pieces, for example, only the top and bottom. But yeah, the weapon is still going to be there that you need to upgrade, and I would recommend go as high as you can. There's nothing to lose from it. If you do get to plus 15, then great. You're pretty much ready until you can get the legendary weapon from the Ludibrium Clock Tower. The only downside with this now is they changed a lot from Closed Beta 2. They used to have all the items available in one Chaos Raid. Now they split it up, the loot, and it's now only available from one specific dungeon if you want to farm certain gear, which kind of sucks. It's more RNG now. There's also, as they said, we're going to have 3 different sets. So that means you're gonna have more RNG farming Shadow Altar, farming the correct gear that you want. There's 3 different sets, so there's 3 pieces in Shadow Altar, headgear, gloves, and shoes, and that's 9 in total for one dungeon that you need to RNG. And obviously, if it's not for your class, then it's even more RNG, because yeah, you're gonna need to farm legendary, the one that you really need for yourself. Let's say if you want to have the pink one, you're gonna have to farm Shadow Altar, try to get the pink headgear, and that's, let's say, 33% chance of you getting it, because it's 3 different sets, so you have 33% chance. But then you're gonna have to lower that percentage because you might get like glove instead, or a shoe, so that's even lower percentage. You know, I'm just going, you know, with basic math, but as you can see, it's quite RNG now. Back in closed beta 2, you would get all the pieces over here, slightly higher RNG, but at least, you know, you get one set from one dungeon. That's how it was in closed beta 2, and right now it's quite messy in my opinion, but we'll see how it goes. I guess it makes it easier for you to farm weapons now, or if you're targeting a certain type of piece, now you can, you know, spam certain raid. But raids, chaos raids, is not going to be easy, and you're going to need a dedicated group playing with pugs. It might be different now, I don't know, but if you're not prepared with the correct stats, etc., you are going to fall behind, and who knows, people might be a little bit more elitist, you know, kicking you off because you're not meeting the requirement of a certain percentage of piercing or your gear score and whatnot. So every little stats will matter, and this is what I'm going to be more afraid of when people are trying to do chaos raids. Hopefully it's not being a bit too dumbed down. Hopefully they still keep the difficulty up so that, you know, hardcore guilds can actually compete and, you know, be a little bit more competitive to chaos raids. Now, as I mentioned earlier, and now it's being brought up, it's gonna have its daily and weekly, so you're having 3 per day and 6 per week, so you can literally do or finish off the raids in 2 days, and you'll have 6 loots, or yeah, it depends on how many loots you get, but you're gonna get roughly 6 to 12 loots per day. So that's pretty decent, if you're lucky, of course, getting your equipment. They also mentioned additional raid entrance tickets. We're not selling them directly, and we'll be reviewing how we like to approach going forward. I think if they're gonna have to do this, I think they are thinking about using Mesos then, because if they're doing this with Mesos, if they're doing this with merits, it's gonna be yeah, a little bit pay to win, I guess. If you think about it, like, you pay to get more entries to, you know, farm more, and you're probably gonna get stronger to complete certain dungeons and such. But we'll see how they work around with that. The dungeon limit reset beta, they are gonna put that, you know, reset thing that you can do on one character, so you're gonna have 60 runs if you're playing with an alt. I already covered this up in the previous videos. Nothing big about it. Thanksgiving, I assume it's more popular in the US than in Europe, for example, when people celebrate Thanksgiving. Pretty interesting. We're getting. I kind of wish they brought the Maplestory 1 version. You know, some of the old school feeling, nostalgia to it. But you know, it's Maplestory 2, so I guess it works out this way as well. Hopefully they add something like an event that you can do, and not like a spin thingy like Maple Hill or current Halloween was decent, but you know, in the end you only did 2 daily dungeons or daily quests to obtain your stuff. So hopefully it's a little bit more about, let's say, open worldish, where you know, try to look for turkeys instead of being locked into a zone. But as we can see, I mean, they're just showcasing the amount in an open field, so hopefully it's something related to open world. Preparing for players for Chaos Raid this week, so this is the time where you, or for example for me, I have a lot of alts, but this is the time where you can also farm for hard dungeons, and I don't know if it's double loot right now, or if it's after the reset, but they are gonna plan on giving people double loot in hard dungeons, and this might be interesting for people that has multiple alts, because then you can gear up every character that you can, or get even more Chaos Onyx and whatnot. For me, I would say this is better if you're farming for the weapon. I mean, there's no difference with the amount of dungeon runs you're gonna do, but you are gonna get the double amount of loots. So getting that, 2 weapons for your class is really helpful, and you'll have more chance of getting plus 13, 14, 15. So that's really good. But when it comes to farming unique items, I'd say it's still okay. I mean, if you're playing with alts, maybe that's a good way for you to farm. I know I still need to upgrade a few characters if I want to take advantage of this hard adventure dungeons. Is that I need to unlock 2.1k gear score on most of my alts, and then farm the dungeons for hard adventure. So it's gonna be a pretty big boost on materials that you're gonna get, and obviously a little bit more duplicates of your weapons that you can enhance or enchant. But yeah, let's go to the end of this video. We're gonna talk a little bit more about fair fight change. For example, they are gonna scale down. They already mentioned it in before or in the previous weekly producer blog. Fair fight is going to be having 5 to 10% more of a tweak, where we do a little bit more damage. They're still trying to fix the 153 error. I haven't gotten that in a long time, but it's going to be fixed, I hope, or at least addressed on the next patch, where they have the Chaos Raid. UGC, for example, right now they're still working on the current system. I haven't really read the whole thing. I mean, it's quite early in the morning for me, but for those that are interested in UGC and such, and how they are working against that, but yeah, they're gonna do something with that regarding terms of service and such. Meso sellers and bots, I did remember I have this video, and there's a lot of people commenting about it, and that they experience bots as well, and I'm really happy that people are aware now of the bots, and that you have the options to vote kick them, but it still doesn't help out that we're always getting some bots now and then in our normal dungeons. I would say the way they handle this, saying that they banned over 1,000 accounts per day, I mean, yeah, there are people who are spamming, for example, less people spamming, but there's still people spamming in chat, like in Maple Hill, in Tria, Genesis, the normal way. But the world chat is slightly lowered, but there are still some. So I wouldn't say they have completely removed everything, but the most important thing is that they only said about Meso seller, like, and it says and bots, so we don't really know in total how many people have been banned, or bots have been banned for doing dungeons, for example, and that's a big problem. I think they have been looking around, and people have been noticing that there are a lot of bots, and people have been complaining about the amount of bots they are getting in Tronic's bunker, for example. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more detailed about that, or if they could explain a little bit more, or at least a little bit better about that they actually blocked bots in dungeons. I mean, it does say they're analyzing the pattern, and they're trying to do the banning for bots, etc. I mean, the easiest way for me to say is that when you notice a bot is obviously a weird name, sometimes you do find some weird name people, and I would say those people, they usually have a guild, or they have a title, or they have an insignia above your head. That's a good way for you to counter that if people think you're a bot, or you can reply back, obviously, before you get vote kicked. But I mean, bots or whoever that's in charge in doing that, they might be going to the next step, for example, playing around with their pattern. But the most common pattern is they don't move until you're literally at the mini bosses. Once you're at the mini boss, you notice they're starting to move ahead. They don't pick up any EMP bombs. Other thing is, when you're at the boss room, they always start going to the left part, buff themselves up, and then they go inside the battle. Never heal, for example, if they're a priest. They always die to the laser beams, for example, in the middle, and their pattern is just predictable. So if you do find them, report, block, and kick them if you can. I would say do not take advantage of having them in the group until the boss is at low health, because they don't really do anything unless you're really needing that extra small DPS that they're doing. It's not a big deal, but yeah, always kick them whenever you see them, or leave and re-queue again. As for game optimization, they are addressing against how the game is being optimized. I think that's a big topic that they're going to be talking about. I don't think it's going to be something they're going to be able to fix in day one or whatnot. There's a lot of things that they need to optimize, and obviously it's not catering around having like a lot of people in a single channel. Tria is also something that you kind of want to avoid these days, because it's just too much clutter on the screen. It's kind of sad, but we'll see what they do. Hopefully they'll fix that. But yeah, so going off with our characters and such, a lot of people have been talking about or mentioning they're selling runs, etc., which is fine in my opinion. It's not really a big deal in my opinion. A little bit sad to see when people are saying it's 10 minutes per run, etc. I mean, if you have, obviously if you have someone AFKing and then you're carrying them, it's gonna take roughly 10 minutes or so. You won't get S rank or anything, but yeah. As for gear wise, you may have noticed, for example, why don't I have purple stuff, etc. And gear score, why is it so low? Why is your attacks so and so? Like, people are always looking for higher stuff. I also watched other YouTubers talking about, don't do this, don't do that. But I also noticed that they haven't really paid attention to the bonus attributes, for example, and what to focus on. And a lot of players will just go off by, or they learn their mistakes, and eventually they're gonna correct themselves in the next video. But for example, as you can see on my screen, I don't have any purple accessories, for example, and the reason for that is I never found a B4 key, for example, to reroll on my stuff, and that causes me to rely more on the blue items, which lowers my gear score, but it gives me a tremendous amount of stats. I'm gonna open up my bank, for example. We're gonna see some stuff that we haven't mentioned before. So for example, I have earrings here, purple earrings, and obviously they're gonna be best in slots. It has piercing 0.3%, damage to boss is 3%. You would say, yeah, it's really good, right? It's not the best stats, but I still need to get B4 keys to enter and try to attempt to get the reroll scrolls. And the thing I would like to show here is, later on as an end game, for example, you are gonna need the keys, and you wanna get these rerollers. So rerollers for accessories is quite rare in my opinion. I've gotten, I think I've gotten mostly armor scrolls, and considering that I don't really have any good armors, and you can always just do dungeons and get, hopefully pray to RNG that you get godly stats. You don't really need the reroller on the armor unless you already have godly stats on your armor, but they don't have the best value or the numbers of it. Then it's good to have the armor reroller, obviously. But as I shown on my character, I do have let's say best in slot, or at least 2 good stats on my earring, but they're really low. So what I needed to do is actually to farm a little bit more B4 keys and attempt to get the reroller scroll for the accessories to reroll the stats or the numbers of these 2 stats, because they're quite poor in comparison to what I have right now. So right now I have 1.3% piercing and 4.5% boss damage. If you do compare to this one, it's only 3% and 0.3%. So I am getting lower offensive stats with the purple, but once I get to reroll this, it's going to be much better, obviously, if I get higher value of my bonus attributes. It's still going to be my endgame goal to equip this. I also started to unlock sockets to it, and obviously we're going to need to put some gemstones into the accessory as well. So that's something you're going to have to be looking forward to, and something you need to farm in hard dungeons, for example. Yeah, I don't think there's much else I need to cover up. I mean, you obviously can see all the items over here that I've collected for this week when we had double loot for normal dungeons, and it's quite a lot of items. I might be lucky, who knows, but I am playing on all 9 characters that I have. 6 of them is doing normal dungeons, so that's roughly, let's see, 36, that's 90 runs per week. So in 90 runs, I've collected quite a lot. This is counted for 2 weeks, so it's quite a lot. And I've, given away to friends or people that need some extra, equipment to boost themselves to the hard dungeons. I am planning on maybe trying to get a giveaway on YouTube, because I find it a little bit harder to do that rather than doing that on my Twitch. Because Twitch, I have a tool to just do a random lottery there. I know there's probably other websites or other ways to do it through YouTube, like leaving comments, or people are doing ticket system. But yeah, I do have some plans for that, so please look forward to that. Weapon wise, I'm still skeptical at the moment if I would hand them out, because now that I looked up on the producer blogs, it mentioned that we're gonna get double loot on the weekend for hard dungeons, so I might be handing these over to my alts. But armor wise, I don't mind giving these out, because it's still some minor boost for you to get to 2.1k. Like for example, the chest piece is really good to give you some gear score, accessories and helmet piece as well, and so on. But yeah, going off with stats and such, as you've seen, I do have 17% right now, and that's going to be up to 21% if I get the house buff, which is 9% off from the cap. So it's not that hard. It's just that you need to try to focus on the stats rather than trying to focus on your gear score and your attack power or whatnot, because it doesn't really increase your attack. I mean, as you can see, I removed my earrings, for example. It does not show off that I gained some attack. It only shows that I got some gear score. So a lot of people are based off, I need to have a certain amount of attack, certain amount of gear score. When Chaos Raids comes out, attack will matter a little bit. Gear score will also matter, because you're going to need a certain amount of gear score to enter the dungeon. But you also need to look at the advanced view. You need to check at people's piercing, for example, because that's determining on how much they are going to hit on a boss in Chaos Raid. So look up on these stats, look up on the bonus boss, look at the total damage, the elemental bonus if they are focusing on that for a certain class, critical damage, for example, on an assassin if they have, well, it doesn't really matter that much as long as they have high damage and high critical damage, for example. Accuracy is also something you kind of want to look up on, because if you have low accuracy, you're going to have less, you're likely to miss a lot, so that matters a lot as well. But yeah, my recommendation, for example, I have really shitty savagery ring here, but my recommendation would be try to look up on the black market. So if you are a little bit new to it, there is an additional option over here, and what I usually do is since the piercing is the best stats that you can get in most of the times, or in accessory in this case, because armor is going to be farmed, you can't trade them. So accessories, piercing is going to be the main stat. Change the value obviously to 1.9 or even higher to 2.5 to 3 or to 4. I think 4 is the max. But and then search for savagery, ring, belt, and necklace, because earring is something that people don't show. So there's nothing on the 4, but if you put on 3, you're going to be able to filter things out, and you're going to see people that are selling piercing with 3.5, 3% only, because I set it on the value over here as a minimum. And you can see how much they cost and what people are selling them for, if they can find some cheap ones, that is. So lowest price for 2% or 2.5% is 4.5 million, for example, and try to look around for your price. My recommendation for the 1% piercing would be 1.9, because it's close to 2% instead of having 1.3, and then it's only 1 million. And try to look for a secondary stat that's really good for you, obviously. This is my tip, obviously, when it comes to these looking for your best stats that you can find while you're having bad RNG, opening up these fragments. This is another way for you to get some extra stats in to do a little bit more damage. So this is the reason why I still have some blue items, and it's the reason for me having higher stats in advanced view. So try not to base off people's gear, score or attack. Look around the advanced stats. That's the most important part, in my opinion. And obviously people have been talking about get the for example, I'm looking for plus 10 players or plus 11 weapon players, etc. I mean, that works out as well, but I wouldn't say it's a recommended thing or required thing. I do recommend people to have plus 10 though, because that speeds up a little bit more in comparison to not having an upgraded weapon. But make sure to have a great stats or bonus attribute for your weapon. For example, right now this would not be the best attribute for me, considering that we talked about that in my other video. Physical piercing can be covered up by gloves, for example, and can be covered up by guild buffs. It can be covered up by food, buffs from Archer, etc. So, oh wait, no, Archer doesn't give physical piercing, but yeah, you understand my point. Like, a lot of stats can be gained from other stuff as well. So you don't really need physical piercing that high, because you can replace those stats by having, for example, boss damage, total damage, physical or magical attack to increase more damage, and there's a lot of variety to that. But the most important part is piercing, obviously. So try to get piercing on your weapon, and when it comes to secondary stats, it's up to you. For me, I'm a little bit lazy. I don't really want to rely on expiring items that gives me a high physical piercing, for example. So I'm pretty fine with this that I have right now, having that physical piercing on my weapon, that is. And then I'll focus on getting accuracy or boss damage on the rest of my equipments instead, because that's a little bit more important for me than trying to min-max the maximum damage while struggling with, for example, accuracy or other stats. So it's really optional, but always look at advanced stats rather than looking at people's weapons and whatnot. But yeah, this is all I have to cover up for today. Sorry if it's been a long video. It's rough. Yeah, it's quite long, but I'll leave you guys to fast forward yourself and watch through it or listen through it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope it cleared out a little bit more about the Chaos Raids and what to focus on and what to not be bothered about when players are seeking for certain stuff, because it's a little bit more of a mindset of players when it comes to what you want to have. But in the long run, it's all about skills and how well you are playing yourself, and finding the the people that you can enjoy and play and farm easily. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I don't think I'll have anything else to cover up, so have a good week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.